What's going on, everybody? BD Anthony here. Many of you wondering why I'm wearing the Halloween t-shirt and the hat, and it has to do with this video. It's my Danielle Harris appreciation movie marathon post. And this is my first time doing a appreciation video post. And the first movie I watched her in was Marked for Death with Steven Seagal. My input on this movie, I thought was an awesome movie. Steven Seagal is always a badass in a good way in every film he is in. A lot of people rather watch the older Steven Seagal movies than the newer ones. And I've seen the newer ones, and honestly, I kind of agree with them. Even though the new ones are not terrible, but they're not as good as the older ones. Guys, never seen a Steven Seagal movie? This is one of the movies you guys should check out. Also, David was excellent in this movie. He's good in everything. John Carpenter's The Thing and Platoon, just to name a few. And the next one I watched is The Last Boy Scout with Bruce Willis and Damon Wayans. I honestly really enjoyed this movie. And you can't go wrong with Tony Scott. I've been a Tony Scott fan ever since I watched his movie Man on Fire with Denzel Washington. And he directed so many great movies. True Romance, Enemy of the State, just to name a few. And great casting. We got Chelsea Field, Noble Willingham, and I really loved Taylor Negron. Man, God rest his soul. Gone too soon. And also Danielle Harris. And also, James Gandolfini had a little role in this movie as a henchman. And I did not know this was a first Tony Scott movie he was in. The second one, he stole half of the movie as Virgil in True Romance. And Damon Wayans, oh my God, he was kind of hilarious in this movie. The Wayans are funny people. Never seen a Bruce Willis, Tony Scott, or Danielle Harris movie? This is one of the movies you definitely need to check out and have in your collection. And there's certain movies I could watch every day, and The Last Boy Scout is definitely one of them. And the next one I watched was Daylight. And I honestly, not a lot of people give credit to this movie. And I really don't care what they think. I thought this movie was a great movie. We got so many good casting. We got Amy Brennan, I can't even pronounce her name. It is Amy Brennan. And when I think of her in Heat with Al Pacino and Robert De Niro. We got Viggo Mortensen, Dan Hedaya, J.O. Sanders. When I think of J.O. Sanders, I always think of him in Angels in the Outfield. And he played Danielle Harris's father in this movie. Karen Young, Claire Bloom, Barry Newman, Stan Shaw, Mark Ralston, Trini McGee, Renole Santiago, Sylvester Stallone's son, Sage Stallone. There's a lot of lists, and I could keep going. Great casting. And I really was hooked on this movie. I could not keep my eyes off this film. I thought it was a clever movie. And the next one I watched is a comedy, City Slickers, with Billy Crystal, Daniel Stern, Bruno Kirby, also, God rest his soul, and Jack Palance. It was kind of funny, but mostly, it was still enjoyable. There were some funny moments. Daniel Stern is funny as hell. I liked him in Home Alone, and that's where I'm always going to think of him in Home Alone. And you can't go wrong with Billy Crystal. And his character, I kind of get where he's coming from. Feeling trapped in a place that you really don't enjoy, that is really not healthy at all. And Danielle Harris had a little role. And also, this was Jake Gyllenhaal's first movie. If you guys like comedy, you should definitely check this movie out. And the next one I watched was Halloween 4. And this is how I got into Danielle Harris in the first place. And I've been a fan of her ever since that. And it was in 2006. And that's a long time. I really enjoyed this movie because it reminds me of the first one. And a lot of people think it reminds them this as the first one. A lot of people like this more than the fifth one. And I kind of see in their retrospect. And I'm not going to go into details because what's the point? But there are a lot of people love this more than the fifth one. And I kind of see why. And the next one, the last one I watched is the fifth one. And I really love the artwork. And it was released by Shaft Factory. And the cool part is, it has reversible artwork. There's options of the artwork. That's what I like about Shaft Factory, Screen Factory. Or the newer cover version. Either the old one or the new one. This is pretty cool. I like it. Some people rather watch the fourth one over the fifth one. And I understand because, like, for example, the actress Ellie Cornell, who plays as Rachel, Jamie's foster sister, doesn't last long. Not as much as the fourth one. She gets killed off. And honestly, I was kind of disappointed in that. After what she's been through, and let's not forget the last scene of that. When you're trying to put the bad guy away, and all of a sudden, that does not go that way. After what Jamie's been through, she thought she had peace, but it just went back right where she started. And I kind of felt bad for her character. And also, in the sixth one, Danielle Harris was supposed to play her in the sixth one, but she didn't because the payment wasn't reasonable, and besides her role was gonna get killed off, and it's only one small role. And honestly, why bring her back if it's just gonna be a small role? And honestly, I think Danielle Harris, I can't even speak today, did what's best. And honestly, it worked out because she appeared in the Halloween remakes, Rob Zombie. And it was really cool to see her return to that franchise. And almost last year, I went to Monster Mania Con last August, and that's where I finally met the Scream Queen herself. I got her autographs. I got her to sign a picture of her from Hatchet, and when I told her the Hatchet movies got better when she came along, and she said, "Oh, thank you." I think she said, she was really appreciated about when I said that. And she asked me, what Hatchet movie did you watch first? And I told her the second one. Then I watched the third one. Then I watched the first one. Now I just got to watch the fourth one. And when I told her that I've been a fan since I was a teenager, she was pleased. And I also told her I've been a horror fan since I was 7 years old. She didn't actually say I'm impressed, but I think she was deep down impressed because she told me she's even trying to get her kids to watch horror. Danielle, you should really thank my mom for this because she's the reason that I became a horror fan to this day. I've been a horror fan. And that's never going to change. And I also got a picture with her. What a sweet, sweet actress and sweet actress. Sweet as a funfetti cupcake. And also in The Last Boy Scout, Kim Coates was there in this movie. He was also there too. And Mark Rolston in Daylight. He was also at Monster Mania. It was such a blessing. I got to meet 3 coolest people. And I met so many celebrities. And so far, they've been very sweet, pleasant. Mark Rolston, Kim Coates, and Danielle Harris were very awesome people to talk to. Very laid back, easygoing people. If you guys never been to a horror con or any con, and if you have a con near where you live, I would highly go there because for me, it was my first experience there and was the most fun experience. And I like going to these things. I like meeting celebrities. You don't get to meet celebrities every day. It would be cool if you did, but unless you're famous, but I like meeting celebrities. Meeting celebrities are always highlights of my life. And I gotta say, I think people need to give Danielle Harris more credit for her movies because let me tell you something. This is an actress who's been acting since she was a child and she's still acting to this day. And I gotta say, impressive, very impressive because there are some child actors used to do acting but no longer in that industry, or many of them, it could be too much for a child sometimes. I'm not an actor myself, but I kind of know what I'm talking about. It's too much for a child, and eventually they'll just snap and they just want nothing to do with it. And Corey Feldman, he's been acting since he was a child, and he's still acting as a child. You guys have a lot of guts what you do. And let me tell you, making movies, the problem with critics is, critics don't have a clue how hard it is to make a movie. Like, 2 examples. Danielle Harris was in the movie Daylight, and I listened to her podcast, which I'll mention to you after this video. According to her podcast, she said this was the most toughest movie she ever done. And I kind of see her point of view. And another example, when I was an extra in Money Monster, I didn't really do much, but I was there for the whole day. That just shows how much important background actors are. They're just as important as featured actors who get credit in the movies. There's equality in that industry. Background actors are just as treated equally as the leading actors, supporting actors. And anyway, one guy was telling all of extras what to do. And let me tell you, that is not easy at all. One person telling 1,000 or 100 extras what we need to do, and some of the extras cannot hear what they're saying, but I heard him loud and clear. Did I say this? When I did Money Monster, directed by Jodie Foster, George Clooney, and Julia Roberts, fun experience, but I know making a movie is not easy, and I see their point. I see Danielle's point. Making a movie, it is not easy. And sometimes I ask myself, why have movie critics when the audience are the real judges? That's all I have to say in this video. And if you guys like me doing these kind of videos, smack the like button, subscribe to my channel, and I'll do more of these. And if you guys like Danielle Harris, she does a podcast with her co-star, Scout Taylor Compton, and the podcast is called Talk Scary to Me. It airs on, you can listen it on Apple Podcasts, their Patreon, and Spotify. I would highly recommend you guys listen to that podcast. They are fun to listen to. If you guys like Halloween, you'll definitely like their podcast. Have a good day, everybody. And Danielle, keep being you.